Within the Sustainable Development Goal number 12, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns, the concept of circular economy is crucial. But what is circular economy? Why does circular economy matter to you? The concept of circular economy has become increasingly widespread in academics, industry, political decision makers, and society. The circular economy term is relatively recent, but several ideas and practices are almost consolidated and they pose their roots in the past. Some authors lead it back to the first environmental economists or to the industrial ecology studies and to the general systems theory. The notion of circularity has deep historical and philosophical origins. The idea of feedback of cycles in real-world systems is ancient and has echoes in various schools of philosophy. It enjoyed a revival in industrialized countries after World War II, when the advent of computer-based studies of nonlinear systems unambiguously revealed the complex, interrelated, and therefore unpredictable nature of the world we live in, more akin to a metabolism than a machine. With current advances, digital technology has the power to support the transition to a circular economy by radically increasing virtualization, dematerialization, transparency, and feedback-driven intelligence. The most prominent circular economy definition has been provided by Ellen MacArthur Foundation. Circular economy is an industrial system that is restorative or regenerative by intention and design. It replaces the end-of-life concept with restoring, shifts toward the use of renewable energy, eliminates the use of toxic chemicals which impede reuse, and aims for the elimination of waste through the superior design of materials, products, systems, and within these, business models. The model distinguishes between biological and technical cycles. In biological cycles, food and biologically based materials such as domestic organic waste or paper and cotton or wood are designed to feed back into the system through processes like composting and anaerobic digestion, or by extraction of biochemical feedstock. These cycles regenerate living systems, such as soil, which provide renewable resources for food, agriculture, and the bio-based product economy. Just to give you an example, let me assume that the wet waste we are producing today in our kitchen, let's say some potato peels and tomato scraps, were appropriately collected and sent to a composting plant. In a couple of months, they will become compost, that is a fertilizer, useful for agriculture that will be used to produce once again potatoes and tomatoes. In technical cycles, it is possible to recover and restore products, components, and materials through strategies like repair, reuse, remanufacture, recycling. As shown in the picture, several cycles can be closed at different levels, such as redistribution in service provider, refurbishing product manufacture, and recycling for secondary raw material process and production. Let we consider as example an empty bottle of beer. It can be returned for a direct refilling, or, after washing and refurbishing, reused again, or treated and recycled together with other glass waste in order to produce a new glass raw material that will be used to produce something else glass-made. Another example. You are discovering that your mobile does not perfectly work. You can hope in a very simple and cheap refurbishment at a specialized repair shop. That is the first level of repair and reuse, but maybe it needs a more robust maintenance, where they will substitute some components deriving from other dismantle activities. That means that your mobile is remanufactured and can be returned to you or sold to someone else. The choice is yours. Finally, if it is not possible to repair or to refurbish your old mobile, it is necessary to entirely dismantle it, separating all different materials, such as metals, plastics, glass, that will be recycled, producing new secondary raw materials. At any level, industrial or domestic, the circular economy implies an anticipatory approach based on which the generation of refuses and waste is not a problem to be dealt with at the end of the production process or after the product has completed its useful life, but must be kept in mind from the beginning, planning all the possible alternatives to reduce the environmental impact throughout the whole life cycle. The principles of the circular economy have become part of the regulation at international level. European Commission, in Closing the Loop, an European Action Plan for the Circular Economy, considers it as an essential contribution to Europe's efforts to develop a sustainable, low-carbon, resource-efficient and competitive economy and society. In 2017, the G7 Bologna Environment Ministers meeting, chaired by the Italian government, launched the Bologna Roadmap, which identified common priority areas for group members shifting from the perspective of need to opportunity in the circular economy, leveraging Europe's technological capabilities. Circular economy is linked with other commitments that are on the agenda of policymakers and industries around the world, such as the Paris Agreement and the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations Agenda 2030. The circular economy allows to operate in the various economic activities as investment, production and consumption, and at all scales, for large and small business, for organization and individuals, globally and locally. Circular principles, reduce, reuse and recycle, substitute the linear model take, make and waste based on the acquisition of raw materials and natural resources as they were infinitive, on production systems that require high energy and water consumption and generate constantly high levels of waste. In a circular economy perspective, economic activity builds and rebuilds overall system health. Circular economy represents a fundamental tool for sustainability and permeates by different points of view the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations Agenda 2030. In particular, the circular economy perspective belongs to the Sustainable Development Goals number 12, Responsible Consumption and Production. Let's draw some conclusions. Nowadays, a complex and deep ecological and social crisis is responsible of the rapid deterioration of our physical, social and economic environment, and of the collapse of the traditional consumption model based on an irreversible utilization and depletion of natural resources and an unacceptable and sustainable pollution and waste production. It is necessary to pursue a real reconciliation between ecology and economics. In fact, there can be no real change without an ecological integrity, an integral and solidarity of humanism capable of living a new social, economic and political order based on the dignity and freedom of every human person. Circular economy is the ultimate answer to solving the problem of the depletion and economic scarcity of resources. The transition to a more circular economy where the value of products, materials and resources is maintained in the economy for as long as possible and the generation of waste minimized, is now mandatory to build an authentic sustainable development.